Baptist Church. It was the church we went to the Sunday before we got into the Sunday after we got into Jamaica. So these are two of the songs we sang. If you want to stand and join us, we're going to sing 10,000 Reasons, and then You Are God Alone.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, I'll worship Your holy name. Let's pray together. Lord, You're a great God, and we are here together this morning to worship You. Even as we hear of the testimonies and the stories of and the events of the team in Jamaica, in all that we do, our aim is to exalt You, to declare Your praise, that You are a great God over all the world. And so as we sing these songs and just come together, Father, may You, our desire is that You would be pleased and glorified and exalted above everything else. And we think and reflect on all that You have done for us and on our behalf, and we are in awe. And so, Father, we gather together in the name of Jesus Christ and drawn together by Your Spirit. Father, be glorified in all that we do as we lift up our praise to You. In Jesus' name. So
In the next hour, a little bit more than an hour, to convey to you just an overview of what God was doing in the team and through the team, through the ministry in Jamaica. We're going to be using some pictures that will be up here on the screen, some songs, skits, personal testimonies, and just to give you an overview of what our 9 days look like in Jamaica. Some of you joined us on Friday afternoon, March 28th, as we gathered here at the church to mark our luggage with orange duct tape, to be sure that everybody had their passports. We didn't want to get to the airport and find out, oh, somebody forgot. And then we were joined actually by 36 of you that came to join us in prayer, to pray for us and over us, as we embarked on this outreach of Glen Memorial. We traveled to Detroit with very few stops. When I paid for 16 of the team at Taco Bell, the question was posed to me, are these all your family? I look old, but not that old, especially with that many teenagers. But spiritually speaking, they all were and are my family. We arrived in Detroit at 10:45. And after a challenge to examine our lives for where we were in our spiritual walk and where we were going to be at the end of the week, we were challenged to do our Gumby sizes. And for those that don't know, Gumby is a very flexible toy. And one of the things that Gary Crawford has taught us is that in Jamaica you must be flexible. And one of the Gumby sizes that we were encouraged was to bend over backwards in our relationships with each other. And that was certainly a good exercise, a Gumby size to practice during the week. On Saturday morning, 2 shuttles arrived at the motel at 10 a.m. and we were ready to head for the airport. Having never flown with U.S. Airways, I was a little concerned about what we were going to run into. But I was very much impressed by the way they handled 22 team members and 30 pieces of luggage. From the time we left the motel at 10 o'clock, through check-in, through our baggage, put on the conveyor by our own team members, and through security, which was expedited, which I don't know why, but God went before us. But in less than an hour and a half from the time we left the motel, we were at our gate, ready for departure. That first flight, we had some newcomers. I was a little concerned because we were kind of all over the plane. Wasn't really sure how they were going to do, but all did well. I was encouraged to hear the members of the team immediately engaging people in the airport, on the plane, talking about what we were going to be doing in Jamaica. I thought to myself, if they can start up a conversation this easily, they'll do well in Jamaica as we have contact with people. Well, through timely flights and quick check-throughs at Jamaican Immigration and Customs, Gary had shuttles awaiting for us, and we got to Chatham Cottages at a pretty reasonable hour. Gary and Marty Crawford, along with their sons Nathaniel and Matthew, met us there and made us feel welcome with little welcome signs in our cottages, along with some food treats for us. That night, Kathleen led us in a devotional, and then it was time to get to bed and prepare for ministry. Well, on Sunday morning, our feet hit the ground running. Breakfast at 7, and the church service at Uprising was at 8 o'clock. Nobody complained, everybody was on time, and we were ready to go. The Uprising Church is a church plant in Montego Bay that the Crawfords are presently attending. The church's motto is, a place to start or to start over. It's a place where you can learn to find and follow Jesus. Our team led the congregation in one song, and then the girls' quartet sang Lord of the Dance as part of the service. In the afternoon, we had a short orientation with Gary and then a trip to Megamart to get things for our lunches. Megamart's similar to Walmart and Sam's Club, kind of a combination. Our first expenditure for food in Jamaica rang up at $33,718. Okay, so you shock at a grocery bill here. All of a sudden, $33,000. I said, okay, what's that in American money? And that was about $337 American money. They were right about at 100 exchange, sometimes a little bit different. So then on Sunday night, we attended the Hillview Baptist Church. On the trip to the church, the team was beginning to find out a little bit about our bus driver's sense of humor, as we encountered tight spaces, sharp turns, steep hills, and middle-of-the-road driving. That would prove interesting for the rest of the week in our travel. It was youth night there at that church, so it seemed appropriate that we were there. The girls' quartet were called on to sing again. When a song is sung a cappella, it can be used in many different circumstances. Just call on them, they're ready to go. Quoting from the Jamaica blog on faithsaliveyouth.org, David writes, okay, so a couple of funny things happened. Singing 10,000 Reasons without any musicians meant that a whole bunch of people from St. Ignace had to tap out the bass drum part when appropriate. I think it kind of took the worship leader by surprise. Then the musicians showed up halfway through the song and treated us to the reggae version of the song. It was awesome. Then the electricity went out during the service. David continues, the power did not just go out, it went out during a special number, which ironically was a song about the power of God. Kind of made him laugh. Pretty nice with technology that we could finish the service with the aid of a whole bunch of cell phone lights, and that's what we did. Well, for Monday through Thursday mornings, we had quite a routine. 7 a.m. was breakfast in cabin number 5. Gloria Brown and her husband Neville, along with daughter Sandra, would have breakfast ready for us. Fresh fruit, variety of other things would be set before us, including grilled cheese one morning. 3 of us on this trip were on the 2009 trip, for which Gloria cooked as well. Her cooking did not disappoint us. She often shops the open markets early in the morning for the fresh fruit, and we enjoyed it. As soon as breakfast was done, we would load the bus with the things needed for another school devotional presentation. We never knew what space restraints we might have, but Gumby traveled with us and our flexibility was put to the test. Once the team was on its way to the school destination, morning salutations were exchanged with our bus driver, Mike.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, students. How are you today? And that would be how we were greeted. Mike was always ready with a smile and ready to take us where we wanted to go. We had the privilege of being at 6 different schools in 4 days. Bogue Hill Elementary and Basic School, Catherine Hall School, which was 5th graders, Montego Bay Prep School, and Heaven Gate School and Norwood Music. Now, as I continue reading, the team is going to do kind of a mock setup. This is what it looked like when we unloaded the bus. 23 of us unloading the bus with everything we needed. We would arrive at the school. We would be greeted by curious children, all dressed in uniform. As a team, we were to wear appropriate clothing for this type of uniform school setting. For the girls, it meant dresses or blouses and skirts, and for the guys, it meant long pants and collared shirts. Mind you, this was culture shock to us, or weather shock. We went from freezing here to 85 degrees in the morning when we would get to the school. As we unloaded the bus with musical instruments, props, murals, drums, we would engage in conversation with the kids. The puppets were brought out and would often draw a crowd. Strumming a guitar or setting up the drum, rhythmic drumming on the box would lure other kids to that, while others were setting up the sound system, organizing music sheets and other props. Schools were sensitive to our need to be in the shade, but it was still hot. In Jamaica, people don't talk about the temperature. It's usually said that it's hot, but it's going to get hotter. Once we would be ready to go and it would be time for the school day to start, the schoolmaster would greet the children, they would respond, and then we would be welcomed with a warm Jamaican welcome. I couldn't tell you how many times we heard the schoolmaster say, "We extend a warm Jamaican welcome to you." And it was always warm. So now, what we're going to invite you to do as a congregation, we're going to invite you to be students in a Jamaican school. Now, you're not all in uniform, and we don't expect that right now. But we're going to ask that you participate with our school program that we did in 4 different schools in the morning. Then we would take music sheets and do other programs with some of the basic schools.
First one that we're going to be doing is Lean on Me, I think. So, I'm going to be Kathleen today because Kathleen was the person who taught the kids all the motions and how to sing the songs. So I think you guys all know the song Lean on Me, and it has some motions. So when we get to the part where it goes Lean on Me, you're going to go like this. And then when you're not strong, weak, I'll be your friend, buddy. And then carry on. 4, 5, it won't be long, short, so I'm gonna need elbow somebody to lean on. So if you guys all want to stand up, and if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. So lean on me when you're not strong, and I'll be your friend, buddy. I'll help you carry on. 4, 5, it won't be long, short, climb down your knee, elbow somebody to lean on me. When you're not strong, then I'll be your friend, buddy. I'll help you carry on. 4, 5, it won't and make me whole. Spring up a whoosh and give to me that life abundantly. All right, the next one we're gonna do is really fast. We're gonna do a really, really fast version. All right, so.
I got a river life flowing out of me.
Makes me walk and the blind to see. Opens prison doors, sets the captives free. I got a river life flowing out of me. Spring up a well, swish, splash within my soul. Spring up a well, and make me whole. Spring up a well, whoosh, and give to me that life abundantly. All right, that was really fast. The next one we're doing is 3-time style. So we're gonna do free, 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 and splish, splash, splish, splash, splish, splash, and whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. All right, I just looked like a fool in front of all of you, so now you have to do it with me. So let's go.
I got a river life flowing out of me. Makes a way to walk and the blind to see. Opens prison doors, sets the captives free.
Free, free, free.
I got a river life flowing out of me. Spring up a well,
Splish, splash, splish, splash, splish, splash.
in my soul. Spring up a well,
Make me whole.
spring up a well, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh.
And give to me
That life abundantly.
abundantly, abundantly, abundantly. Good job. Okay, we have one more version. And this one is called Michigan style. Because when we were there, we told them all that we still had 3 feet of snow and the lake was still frozen over and we were really close to Canada, which I guess that kind of shows us where we are. So we're gonna freeze when we get to the splish, splat. And so like that. All right, ready?
I got a river life flowing out of me.
Makes a way to walk and the blind to see. Opens prison doors, sets the captives free.
I got a river life flowing out of me. Spring up a well, to my soul. Spring up a well, make me whole. Spring up a well, and give to me that life abundantly.
Good job. All right.
That first song that we did, Lean on Me, took on a little bit more special meaning while we were down there, in that one of the things that happened in one of the schools, we had done Lean on Me at the very beginning of our program, and then when we finished the program, Pastor Campbell, who is a Jamaican pastor, who has just an incredible testimony himself, and he has great contacts within the schools. As a matter of fact, he serves on the board for one of the schools, and he goes into several of the schools doing their devotional time. He asked us, can you do Lean on Me one more time when we were all done with our program? And we always felt like our time was very limited. We're in there, we're out of there, and all the kids go back to class. And so we didn't plan on doing it. He just said, can you do Lean on Me one more time? And so we did it. We found out afterwards that Pastor Campbell's wife has been diagnosed with cancer, and he's just really been struggling with it. And just wanted to praise God, and so he wanted to hear Lean on Me one more time. And just his dependence on God and everything that was going on in his life. And so that was really cool for us to be a part of that and just be an encouragement to him. One of the many blessings that we didn't anticipate when we were there. We have no idea all the lives that we may have had an impact in and how God was using us. And so it was really cool to hear that later, why we had done that song. So right now we're going to do our school presentation. Thank you, Rock. As Jesus would walk around, many people would come to hear him teach. Sometimes he would read from the Old Testament or the law, and other times he would teach them by telling them a story. We call these stories parables. Every time that Jesus told a parable, some of the people who heard them would understand what he was saying, and some of them would not. Jesus even said this is what the purpose of the parable was, so that some would understand, and so that some would not understand. Here is one of the parables that Jesus told. planting season had arrived. The farmer woke early in the morning, dressed himself, and got ready for his long day of work that was ahead of him. The farmer picked up his bag of seeds and headed out to spread them. As the farmer was walking along the mountainside spreading the seed, some of them fell along the path. Before too long, those seeds on the path were trampled on, and greedy birds swooped down and snatched up the seeds they could find. The farmer continued along, spreading the seed, and as he did, some of the seeds fell on the rocky ground, where it did not have much soil. Those seeds sprang up quickly, but when the sun came up, the plants were scorched and they withered away because they had not grown any roots. There were still other seeds that the farmer spread. Some of those seeds fell among the thorns. These seeds found soil and were able to grow. However, as they grew up, the thorns grew also, and eventually the thorns choked out the plants. Still other seeds fell on good soil. Those seeds did not get trampled or eaten by the birds. They found lots of soil for growing good roots, and they grew up healthy and produced a crop. Some of them produced up to 100 times what was originally planted, and some of them 60 times what was planted. When Jesus had finished telling this parable, he said, "He who has ears, let him hear." As Jesus left the crowd and walked away with his disciples, they asked him what the story meant. Jesus paused for a minute, then explained the story to them. He explained it like this. The seed is the Word of God, and the different types of soil are the different ways that people hear the Word. The seeds that fell along the path represent the people who hear the message about the kingdom of God and his plan of salvation, but they do not understand it. Then the evil one and his workers come along and snatch away what was planted in their hearts, so they do not believe and they are not saved. Then there is the seed that falls among the rocks. This refers to those who hear the word and immediately they receive it with joy. They begin to grow, but they never grow any roots. After a short time, they begin to fade and wither away. Things like trouble or persecution or bad things that happen in their life seem too hard for them, and without any root, they do not survive. The seeds that landed in the thorns when they were being spread represent the people who hear the word, and because they can find soil to grow in, they have roots and grow for quite some time. However, these plants never reach maturity and produce a crop. Instead, they get choked out by the thorns, which are the priorities of the world. These priorities include all of life's worries, riches, and pleasures, all the things that people think are fun and do not want to give up in order to live for God. Finally, there is the seed that was spread and landed on the good soil. This refers to someone who hears with an honest and obedient heart. They not only hear the word, but they understand and retain it, and by persevering, they produce a crop. That crop can be 100 or 60 times more than what was planted. This is the explanation that Jesus gave to those that had ears to hear the parable. And so then we would wrap up our parable with just an explanation, a very clear presentation of the gospel, and a challenge to the kids to really be good soil, to hear with an honest and an obedient heart. And so our challenge would go out to them to want to obey everything that the Bible tells them to do. And so we just had a great time in the schools. And so as you can see, it was easy to have fun with this kind of skit. I'm going to give you a brief overview of some of the other areas that we were able to minister. One of them we call Walk and Witness. We were scheduled 3 nights that while we were in Jamaica to do Walk and Witness. And the Walk and Witness took us to the seawall, which was very close to Chatham Cottages where we stayed. And as the name seawall would insinuate, it's right along the shoreline. And the people of Jamaica, of Montego Bay, early in the morning till late at night would gather at the seawall. When I would go down in the morning to find the internet service, I had about a half-mile walk. I'd often leave by 6 o'clock in the morning, and already the seawall would be full of people. Some swimming, some just sitting, music playing. But that's where our walk and witness took place. And so we would go down and we would break into smaller groups. We would pray together for God's leading in giving opportunity to engage people, to converse about the gospel with them, and then we would go. One of the evenings, the team took guitars and the drum and started playing music as a way of attracting some people around, which it did, and then gave other opportunities to engage the onlookers in conversation. Jimmy and Sarah are going to share a little bit about their experience on the seawall. And Daniel's going to take Melissa's place.
Well, on the seawall, it was probably one of the most challenging things we did, and personally for me it was that they congregated around by the beach there, and they would sell things. So when you would walk down the street, you would just get people would come right up to you and ask you if you wanted to buy something. So it was the second night that we did this, and there would be these people that would approach me trying to sell things, and they said, would you like to buy something, one of these fruit or one of these bracelets? And I said, I don't have any money for that, but I'm here to talk about Jesus with you if you'd like. And so with that, I was able to start some conversations. And what happened before that was, just backing up a little bit, is we came to the seawall. We didn't have any energy. We just went through a whole day of these things that we've been talking about and doing, and we prayed. We prayed as a group that God would give us the strength, because we didn't have it. We didn't know which people we were going to approach. We didn't know what we were going to say and what to do. So we prayed about that, and it wasn't until about an hour into it that we really started talking to people. We kept going down the seawall, and we got into by Merv's group over there, and one of the ladies came up to me, and I said the same thing. I said, I'm not here to buy anything, but I'm here to talk about Jesus if you'd like. And so she said, sure. I was like, whoa. And so I talked to her about Jesus, and she said she was a Seventh-day Adventist. She knew a lot of the Bible, but she didn't believe that when she would die, she didn't know that she would go to heaven. So I said, would you like to know how to go to heaven? And she said, yeah. So I led her through the verses that we were studying in the Romans Road, and she accepted Christ into her life that night. I asked her how she felt. She said something like, if I were to wake up tomorrow morning, I would feel like I have nothing to worry about. So it was amazing in that aspect, the seawall, and Sarah's going to share a little bit.
So I had never gone out and witnessed before, and I was really nervous. And so that first night, we were picking groups to go out to the seawall in, and I ended up in a group with, it was me, Giles, Shelby, Gabe, and Mr. and Mrs. Davis. I was like, okay, Giles and Mr. Davis are in my group. I'm going to be okay. I don't feel like it's so much pressure to talk. Yeah, I was really that first night we went out, and it was mostly Mr. Davis and Giles doing the talking, and I was like, okay, well, next time I'm going to try to start a conversation, but I was still really nervous. And so the second night we had gone through, up down the seawall, and we talked to about 5 different groups of people, and I was starting to feel really discouraged because our conversations weren't really going anywhere. And so finally it was time to go in, and as we're walking back down the seawall, I'm thinking to myself, well, that was kind of a waste of time. And all of a sudden our group are just talking. All of a sudden Shelby goes, I wonder why all these people come down to the seawall. And Mr. Davis was like, oh, why don't we ask this guy? And so we turned and started talking to this man named Ryan. He was probably in his early 20s. And it was mostly Mr. Davis talking, just listening to Ryan explain why people come down to the seawall. And I was looking at Ryan talk, and I noticed he had something on his arm, and it looked like a tattoo. And I didn't you couldn't really see much of it. You could just see the bottom of it. And I was thinking, you couldn't tell what it was. And I was thinking in my head, I think that's a cross, but you couldn't tell. And so I interrupted Mr. Davis when he was talking. I'm like, I'm sorry, but can I see your tattoo? And he lifted up his sleeve, and yep, it was a cross, and it had a weird design behind it, and he was telling us about it. And he said when he got it, he thought it looked really cool, but he never finished it. And after he was done telling us about when he got it, I was like, so is there? Oh, I said, my brother has a cross on his arm too, and it's for his faith, and then his mom's initials are on it. And I was like, so does your cross have any sentimental meaning? And he was like, no, I just thought it looked cool. So we ended up talking to Ryan about his faith, and he told us all these different things he'd been through in his life, defying death experiences, and he admitted that God had kept him alive because he had a purpose through it all. But he had it set in his heart that if he does good things, then he would get to heaven. But so I ended up talking to Ryan that night and told him my personal testimony and explained to him about how you can be the best person, but just doing good things isn't going to get you to heaven. You have to trust in God and live for Him, and you're doing those good things, but it's for God. You're not doing it just to satisfy yourself. You're doing it to satisfy God. So that was my experience at the seawall.
When we went down there, Mr. Crawford kind of told us a little bit of what to expect if you come in contact with a Rastafarians. And okay, one person talked to him, the rest of them kind of gave him a little bit of room. And this was I was with Melissa, Micah, Josiah, Beth, and Kristen, and it was our first night, if I remember correctly. And we kind of went to the far end of the wall and started working our way back. We didn't get to come back very far, and this guy named Shango stopped us. This guy has an interesting history because our first Sunday in Jamaica was his second time in church. The first time he was in church was with the last group that went. At least that's what we were told. I was told. And Melissa started talking to Shango, and the rest of us kind of gave him a little bit of room. I was sitting there kind of also in the conversation, but just listening to Shango ask questions, and it was just interesting to see how Melissa just answered the questions, how God was leading through the whole thing, and Melissa got to lead him through the prayer of asking Jesus into his heart. Now, time has yet to see how sincere he was with that, but it was just exciting to see that happen, and Crawfords were very excited as well. So that was just one big thing that happened there.
when you consider breakfast was at 7, we had schools to do, then we were left at 6:30 at night for Montego Bay Boys and Girls Club, and they met you ready to go, and you better be ready to go with them. And so when we were met by these curious and zealous kids, they wanted the attention of our team. And given the circumstance over and over again, the team rose to the occasion with God's help, and we're ready to go at it again. As soon as we got off the bus, they were swept into a game of basketball, frisbee, football, or what we would call soccer, watching dominoes being played, letting kids show their latest dance moves, playing music, and simply showing love and interest to these kids. One of the rare treats that we had, the first night that we were there, the band went through their practice. And the instruments that they use have either been donated as unusable by schools, and they've fixed them up a little bit, or they've pieced together instruments. But we sat in the bleachers outside, and they practiced on their basketball court. They went through their formations, they went through their high steps and their low steps and their dance steps and fancy drumming and all. And it was really cool because they were preparing for a competition, and they won a lot of awards for their performances. But as they drew their practice to a close, and before we went into the building to do our program, they fell into straight lines and faced us and played our national anthem. Me being silly, looked for the American flag. They don't fly it in Jamaica. But what an honor, and we let them know that we were honored that they played our national anthem in our honor being there. And then they played the Jamaican national anthem. We had a lot of fun with them in our program, did a lot of action songs, and those kids liked to be a part of those, and our team would kind of buddy up with them and join with them. And then we would share with the gospel skit as well. We're going to present one of those skits right now, and then Rebecca's going to give her testimony of a ministry that she had there. So give us just a minute, we'll get set up for our nice skit.
Oh, no more tests for the rest of the year.
Amen. What is this thing? Come on, let's check it out.
You go ahead. I have to go and just, kind of chill after that test. That test was terrible.
All right, I'll see you later.
All right, bye.
Did somebody just leave this box here? Well, I mean, no one's looking. I like this box. It's cozy. What kind of box is it anyways? Oh, N-I-S. Okay, let's see. Spelling was not my best subject. N-I-S. That spells nice, right? N-I-S, nice. This is a nice box. This could be my nice box. Sarah, Giles, come here. I found a nice box. Okay, come here. Look it. Come on. Look at this nice box. Doesn't it feel cozy? It feels good.
It does feel pretty good. This is a nice box.
I mean, we could have movies in here. It's like shiny and fancy in here. There's no rules either.
It's kind of cozy.
We can do whatever we want. It feels good, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
NIS. That spells nice.
It's pretty nice.
It doesn't feel great though. I mean, it feels kind of, there's something about it. I
What?
don't know.
No. This is a nice box.
I mean, it is nice. I kind of like it, but we should probably go. We have somewhere to be.
All right. I mean, whatever. I can have fun without you.
I have to get Giles to dance class. We'll be back.
All right. Bye, guys. Whatever. I don't need them. This is a nice box. There's nothing wrong with this box. I mean, what could go wrong? No one's looking. It feels good. There's no judgment. Kenzie, Daniel, come here.
Hey, Annika, how are you?
I'm good. But
Does
the
it
best part
listen?
is I found this nice box. Wait, no, guys, nice.
What are you up to?
I found a nice box. Come here. Come on.
What are you doing in there?
Whatever I want.
But I don't think that's right.
There's no rules in the nice box.
Well, rules are good.
Come on.
Well, you're my best friend and you're doing it.
Right, and no one's looking.
No one's looking?
No one's looking. Come on.
Well,
Well, this is kind of nice, but
See? Doesn't it feel good?
it says nice here, but
Okay.
this isn't nice, Dan.
I'm not, yeah,
I don't know.
Are you guys leaving too?
I gotta get going. I
I'm
don't.
sorry, just,
I'm
even though
sorry.
nobody's looking, it
Monica.
still doesn't feel right.
Alright, I mean, whatever. Losers. I don't need them to have fun. It's nice. I don't know what they're talking about. I can read it. N-I-S. Nice. Okay.
Hey, Annika.
Bah! Shut up,
Hi.
you guys have to listen to me. Come here, look it. N-I-S. Look at my nice box.
Yeah, not so nice.
What do you mean not so nice? Come in here, come in.
This
Okay.
isn't nice. How long have you been in here?
I don't know. All morning, as long as I can remember.
Well, okay, you're our best friends. Can you like come out here and see what we're
guys,
seeing?
Listen to me, this is a nice
This
box.
is not okay.
This is not a nice box. You need to come out here and check this out.
Just
Alright.
come see from our
For a
perspective.
second, for like a second, and then I come back in the nice box.
If you want to go back in there after what we see, then yes, you can go back in.
Okay,
But I doubt you will.
just for a second.
You see what it says? It's not N-I-S, it's S-I-N. It's sin. You've been blind to what you've been doing this whole time.
Sin? I had no idea we've been living in sin.
One of the neat things that we had at the Boys and Girls Club was we were able to go 2 nights in a row. And so the relationships that we started on the first night, then when we presented this skit to them on the second night. The first night we did the cross skit that we presented here before we went. And then the second night we were able to do this. And so just a great way of opening up opportunities for us with them. So that was our nice class. And now Rebecca.
In Jamaica, our team went to a Boys and Girls Club. The Boys and Girls Club is a program to keep kids off the streets like Montego Bay. When we arrived, there were kids all over the place playing dominoes, playing basketball, playing hide and seek, all sorts of activities. I was slightly overwhelmed, and I wasn't sure what to do. So Sarah and I grabbed a couple kids and started playing basketball. Then the marching band began to play, and that was great. They played their national anthem and ours. When the band finished, it was time to go inside, and on my way inside, I noticed Melissa using sign language with someone. And taking a semester of sign language this year, I was intrigued, so I joined the conversation, introduced who I was, spelled my name, and just started a conversation with him. It was then time to go in and start the programs and do the skits. So we went in, and after the presentation that we presented was over, Garnett, which is the man's name who was half deaf, came up and started signing with me again, and I just started talking to him a little bit, and it was fun. He told me his sign name, which was this. A sign name is, rather than spelling out your name with every single letter, you would just use a sign name. Well, he said, "What's your sign name?" And I said, "I don't have one," because you don't give yourself a sign name. A deaf person gives you a sign name. And so he said that I was Rebecca. So I have a sign name. So that was exciting. And so the next night we came back and presented another skit, and I got to talk more with Garnett and just really got to know him a lot better. And I brought up the fact that we had a group come in 2009, and that Rachel Terry was a part of that group, and he remembered talking to her when she was there and signing with her. So I got an opportunity to just share with him, and at one point he goes, "You and me were brother and sister," and I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Brother and sister in Christ," and that just made me happy. So I was very blessed by this opportunity to go to the Boys and Girls Club and to meet Garnett.
We went to Robin's Nest Orphanage, and unfortunately, many of the kids that live at the orphanage were in school. So there wasn't a lot of engagement with the kids except for the short time with the younger ones. After a tour of the facilities, we went to work. And Whether it was painting or building or sanding or swimming with little ones or moving things or folding clothes or fence repair, whatever it was, you knew that the team was working for the glory of God. They were preparing for an inspection, and we were able to help them prepare for it. Kathleen Peterson had joined us in Charlotte, North Carolina on our way down, and the Robin's Nest Orphanage is where she taught for a year and a half after the 2009 trip. So she had kind of mixed emotions in being back to the place where she had taught school. But she seemed thrilled to see what God continues to do at the orphanage and was glad to be there. Beth and Gabe are going to tell a little bit about their experiences at Robin's Nest.
So, I'm going to go first. The night before we went to Robin's Nest, Gary was talking to us at devotions, and he was just telling us how there's going to be lots of little kids there that we can love on and just have lots of fun with them, but there's also maintenance work that we'll have to be doing. And he was like, so maybe the boys can bring their tennis shoes so they can go, and like they had to like shovel gravel last time. So I was like, in my mind I was like, I'm not doing that, I'm gonna play with the kids. I'm not doing any maintenance work. So that was my mindset going into it. And we got there and we got changed from the school that we had been at, and we had a little tour of the place and got to see some of the kids. And then the lady there that was like in charge of everything, her name was Vicky, and she told us there's painting project down at the bottom of this, of like the property, and we need some people to go do it. So for some reason I volunteered to do that instead of playing with the kids. So me and a group of people went down to the bottom of the property. It's like this huge long drive to get up to the top of the mountain to where Robin's Nest is. And so we walked all the way down, and we started painting. We worked our way up and painted posts all the way up the drive. And then we walked all the way back down and painted a big wall that we had to, and this whole time it's like scorching sun, and like I'm dying because we're so hot. And but it was just to do that, to be able to work for someone like that, and not planning on doing that. God changed my plans in that totally, because I didn't really get to play with the kids much, but I was so blessed by being able to bless other people that I was so happy that I got to be able to do that instead.
So every morning at Robin's Nest at about 10:30, the kids all go down for bath time. So bath time is actually swimming with the kids, teaching them how to swim. So while everyone else is working, me, Sarah, and Mrs. Davis got to swim with the kids. So it was just really cool. The lady there named Harmony, she just showed us how to like help the kids swim. You could tell them like blow bubbles, and they'd put their face in and just blow bubbles, and it was really cute. They were all probably under 2 years old, so it was just a really cool experience to help them with that.
Leading up to Robin's Nest, I talked to Emmanuel and Bethany, and when they were there, they got to play with a ton of kids. I was like, perfect, I'm going to go play with kids and just have a fun time there. And Merv and Gary, the night before, were introducing it, and they said there was gravel to be spread. I was like, there's no way I'm spreading gravel. It's like 90 degrees, I'm going to sweat, and I'm going to melt. I just can't do it. I'm going to play with the kids. And so when we got to Robin's Nest, Katie, who was one of the head people at Robin's Nest, gave us a tour. And right after that, Vicky and Nathaniel were like, all right, AD, you're going painting, and we need people to fix the fence. We need people to go clean up underneath the porch. And so right off the bat, we were put to work. And my dad, Josiah, Gary, and I grabbed wire from Vicky, and we went around and started fixing up fences. And just so like the kids wouldn't start to climb on them and they cut their fingers or whatever. And then after we got all that done, Josiah and I went down underneath the porch, and Nathaniel had us clean up like wood scrap and PVC pipe that was underneath there. He didn't tell us why we were cleaning it. He just had us throw it in a pile. They were gonna burn it. And so after that, there was one Jamaican guy down there, and like he was just looking at us, talking to one of his friends. And so Josiah and I just kept working, and then like when we left, he said thank you to us. because where we were cleaning, they were extending a basement and extending like where we were cleaning, they needed to clean to flatten it out. And it's something they easily could have done, but like just taking time out of that, like what they're doing, because there's so much stuff to be done there. I thought it was really cool to be able to help them, like with the fence, just help them pass their inspection and make sure the kids weren't getting hurt and just help them be able to extend on that basement. So that was a really cool experience, just to be able to help and serve them, just do little things for them and help them a lot.
Then on Tuesday, following our school presentation, we traveled to West Haven Children's Home for the mentally and physically impaired. Gary had given us a brief expectation, then informed me, oh, by the way, we won't be going with you, you're on your own. And that caused a little anxiety on my part, but God went before us again, and we were told that when we arrived, the residents would be watching our faces because they don't want to see anybody sad. And if you're sad, they're going to come right around you and they're going to try to make you happy. And so, if you watched our team get off the bus, whether they were putting a real smile on or just faking it, they were ready to smile when they got off the bus. But the kids, the people there were waiting for us, and really, as it turned out, they blessed us, I believe, more than we blessed them. Whether we were pushing residents in wheelchairs or racing them in their wheelchairs down tracks and just hearing them laugh, they weren't able to talk, they weren't able to move, but they could laugh, they could smile. And, or whether it was rubbing the back of a bedridden resident that just had no response at all. There might have been dancing with them, simply holding hands with them. Whatever it was, the team was there to do. One of the funniest things was watching David and Micah chase little soap bubbles. One of the boys there actually was laughing so hard he had tears in his eyes, and he would take that little wand and he would blow bubbles, and when he did, he would go, "Bubbles!" Which was fine if you knew he was there. But he snuck into one of the houses where I was feeding somebody, and he came up behind me and he goes, "Bubbles!" And I about lost the food I had on the spoon. But he was having fun, and so did we. And the team just willingly ministered God's love. And Kristen and Daniel and Annika. Okay? They'll share a little bit later. So, one of the things that Gary has learned is that when you take a team down there, there needs to be time out. Not a bad time out, but a time for relaxation. Because in the heat, in the schedule that we kept, we were by the middle of the week, we were ready for a rest. So one of the things that Gary had prepared for us was a snorkeling excursion. Not everybody got into the water, but everybody was on the boat. And it was a little classier boat than what we went out in 2009. Actually, a woman owns this 50-foot catamaran, and she heard of Gary's ministry to the teams. And normally, she caters to the cruise ships that come in. And it's pretty expensive to do this 2-hour snorkeling. Well, she's arranged with Gary for a very discounted price for his teams to go out and do it. So we enjoyed that. Those that went into the water were able to snorkel and see the underwater creation that God had made in the beautiful colors. And it was enjoyable for all of us. Then on Friday, we had a complete day off and we went to Dunn's River Falls. If you hear Jamaica advertised, you'll often hear that. But as it turned out, it kind of became an exhausting thing because when you walk up those falls, it's a lot of work. And some of it you're fighting off the water and it's about enough to knock you backwards. And, but the team did well and moved up the falls a couple times, in fact. Then on Saturday of our ministry, we partnered with a group from Hillview Baptist Church and went into a community called Rhine Park. The there's about 2,500 homes in Ryan Park right now with no church. And Hillview Baptist is looking at starting a church there. So we went door to door with a survey and asking some questions about the people, what they do, what needs they see in their community, and whether or not they would have any objection to a church being started. And from that, we believe that Hillview will be starting a church. They've already looked at the property, and there seems to be a good feeling from the people that they would like a church there. And so, exciting for me is I feel like this team, as we shared the skit of sowing the seed, we are on that ground foundation of helping a church plant in Ryan Park. I'm looking forward to how seeds planted in Jamaica in 2014 are going to grow up even in that community and bring a harvest for the cause of Christ. I don't know. God may use future teams from Glen Memorial to be a partner with that church in Ryan Park and to see God minister there in mighty ways. In 2009, the team that went there, they began their ministry at Mount Stewart Baptist Church. In 2014, this team closed our ministry at Mount Stewart Baptist Church. Pastor Glen, who is there at the church, he was actually voted in as their pastor the Sunday that we were there in 2009. And he was actually saved through the ministry of Gary Crawford at the church there in Mount Stewart. Gary said to us, I didn't think I did well with my message, didn't really remember what I said or anything, but one man came forward at the invitation, and it was Pastor Glen. So the ministry goes on. We were welcomed to that church. We had 3 Sunday school classes that our team taught, and we presented music, and Dave had the privilege of preaching in that service. Now, when Dave preaches, or in heat, he just sweats. Well, there, it's proper for the person presenting the word to be in shirt and tie, long sleeve, long pants. Dave did really, really well. I personally thank Dave for his ministry among the team through the medicine. He was our dispensary for the whole week and had a pretty busy schedule. But to hear God's word proclaimed there at Mount Stewart was really just a real encouragement. So whether it was Jamaican, Jamaicans, or American, we worshiped together and we blessed the name of the Lord. Style was different, but it was one God that we worshiped. And we are so grateful to have had that privilege.
Paul's letter to the Philippians is a letter from a missionary, the Apostle Paul, to a supporting church, the church there in Philippi. And it's a letter meant to be a great encouragement, it's a letter that reflects in many, many ways on the ways that support and encouragement and help comes to a missionary. And so this is a letter to you as a congregation from one of our supported missionaries, and he begins by quoting from Paul's letter to the Philippians from chapter 1, verse 3, 4, and 5. Paul writes, I thank my God upon every remembrance of you, always in every prayer of mine, making request for you all with joy, for your fellowship in the gospel from the first day until now. Gary writes, as I look back on the last week of serving with the Glen Memorial Mission team, I think I understand how Paul may have felt as he remembered the special fellowship he shared with the people who were so dear to him. He speaks of a fellowship or partnership in the gospel. How fitting a description of your team who were so focused on sharing the love of Christ at every opportunity. If I could just stop in the middle of Gary's letter and say one of the things that I really so much appreciate about Gary and the way he does this particular ministry of leading short-term teams is that right from the beginning, Gary is introducing the team to his friendships, the people and the people that he knows, and his anywhere from an acquaintance to friends that he has made over many, many years. And Gary has a heart that's that large and is say that trusting. He's just inviting you to come enter into those friendships, and he trusts that the work of the Spirit in you is going to be an extension of Gary's own friendship with those individuals. And so so much when he sees a partnership in ministry, he's encouraging you guys as a team, us as a church in this. And from my perspective, he's a missionary who really gets that, what that's all about. He writes, Marty, that's his wife, Marty, Nathaniel, Matthew, and I would like to express our deep appreciation and gratitude to you for sending such an incredible team of servants to Jamaica. Your team served with excellence, incredible attitudes, and Christ-like joy as they engaged the Jamaican people with Christ's love. I once asked Jamaican pastor Delroy Campbell, he's the pastor who's been there for, grew up in Montego Bay and has been a pastor in that community for, I don't remember, you know how long, 30 years at least, 40 years maybe. And he's the pastor who has had all the connections with the schools and that's teaming up with him in that ministry. And Gary once asked Delroy Campbell if he thought bringing mission teams to Jamaica was worth such a significant investment. I'll never forget his answer. He said, "People are more important than projects. Dollars last until they are spent, but relationships last for eternity." Your team built lasting relationships and planted many gospel seeds as several lives were impacted for eternity. We would like to make just one more acknowledgement. Your team leaders were absolutely the best that we have ever worked with. We do not make that statement lightly, as we have served with over 65 mission teams. They are a shining example of how mission teams should be organized, prepared, and led, and how cross-cultural ministry should be done. Thank you once again, and we look forward with great anticipation to the next opportunity we have to fellowship with you, with such dear friends and precious saints in the Lord. By God's grace and for His glory always, Gary and Marty Crawford.
I danced in the morning when the world was begun, and I danced in the moon and the stars and the sun, and I came down from heaven and I danced on the earth. At Bethlehem I had my birth. Dance then wherever you may be, for I am the Lord of the dance, said He, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said He. I danced for the scribes and the Pharisees, but they wouldn't dance and they wouldn't follow me. I danced for the fishermen, for James and John. They came with me and the dance went on. Dance then wherever you may be, for I am the Lord of the dance, said He, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said He. I danced on the Sabbath and I cured the lame. The holy people said it was a shame. They whipped and they stripped and they hung me high, and they left me there on a cross to die. I danced on a Friday when the sky turned black. It's hard to dance with the world on your back. They buried my body and they thought I'd gone, but I am the dance and I still go on. Dance then wherever you may be, for I am the Lord of the dance, for I am the Lord of the wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he.
Always had to prepare to sing it whenever, because Dave or just someone from the team would be like, oh, sing it, sing the song. And we were down on the seawall one of the nights, and we were asked to sing it for Shango. We just pulled aside like, okay, we're going to sing it here. We're going to be ready, whatever. And in the airport on the way down, we ate at Ruby Tuesdays, and we sang it right in the restaurant. We were asked to sing it right for the waiter and just the people there. And that was an interesting experience. And so it was just a good thing to have that we could do for the people.
And it's easy to see why we requested it so much. All right, the team's going to come up. I just want you to see everybody that was on the team. At the end of every day, we would all get together and we would just kind of do a wrap-up and just talk about the events that had happened during the day. Gary would give us our schedule for the next day. What time's breakfast, everybody? 7. What time does the bus leave?
7:45.
And then Gary and his family would leave, and then we would all have devotions together. And there were 8 different people or 9 different people that shared in devotions that had been studied beforehand, and it was a great time to just focus on what had happened during the day. Just so many good things. You will have to talk to us. I don't know when you'll be able to hear the testimonies from West Haven. Some incredible things happen there, and so just engage us in conversation. One of the things that Marty just said over and over and over again, I love this group, I love this group. And he talked about the folder and Merv's organization. It made things flow very smoothly. At the end of the night, and when we were all done with our devotions, we ended up like this.
I love